Welcome to the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast. My name is Nina Doiron and I'm your host. If you're a real estate professional or investor, this is the podcast for you. I think you'll agree with me that a house is likely the largest financial asset for the majority of the population. And like any other product, it needs to be marketed in order to attract the right buyers so that it can sell faster and sell for more. So the objective of this podcast is really simple. It's to share with you the greatest marketing strategies and tactics in order to help you set your property apart from its competitors, and of course, ultimately to help you grow your real estate business. Thanks for coming back and joining me. And if you are new to the podcast, welcome. I really appreciate having you here. Um, you know, I've been talking about a couple of different topics, but there's one that I'm really passionate about and I want to dive in a little bit deeper today. So, as a founder and owner and operator of a staging firm in the Greater Toronto area, one of the things that I am often asked most is home staging necessary? And I'm often asked this by both the agents and the homeowners. So coming from the homeowners, I get it. I get where the question is coming from because they're not quite sure if there's a return on the investment. And for the most part, when I'm sort of working with seasoned real estate agents and brokers, they don't often ask me this because they kind of already know the value of staging and they're familiar and aware of staging. Where I get this a lot is from new agents just entering our big, beautiful, and chaotic industry, and they're not entirely sure how to approach it on their own. They're not entirely sure how to approach it with their clients, and so they try to sometimes avoid it altogether because they don't really understand the value of it. And when they're asked by their clients, that's when they kind of search around and they Google, and then they find me and my company. They call and ask the questions, and I imagine that they're doing a lot of the shopping around and asking other staging companies in the area the very same question. And most often those agents are price shopping. So the honest truth is that when I get people who call like that and the first question they ask is about pricing, I know that I'm not going to win the project over because they are shopping for the lowest price, right? So, but the question remains is home staging necessary? And articles after articles that I've read about real estate marketing strategies, home staging typically hits the top 10 as the most effective marketing strategies in the real estate market. And there are many articles that are written out there. Everybody has a different perspective, but consistently home staging hits the top 10. So in today's podcast, I want to answer that question. I want to be able to provide you with the answer into if home staging is necessary. And for the seasoned agents who understand the value of staging, have used staging before, I'd love to get your input on this at the end of the podcast. And for new agents who are fairly new at this industry, I hope that I'll be able to answer all the questions that you have. And I hope that this will give you some good insight to one of the most effective real estate marketing strategies that are out there. And I hope that you'll be able to gain some comfort in speaking about this with your client. Okay, so let's see. So when I am asked if home staging is necessary, what often is the hidden question is that, they want to know, can a property be sold without being staged? Really, that's what they're asking, right? Is it necessary? Because if I can sell it without it being staged, then I'll just rather do that. Why should I spend the money? And my honest truth is that I believe that it can. It can sell without being staged. Because I believe that there's a buyer out there for every property, given if the price is right? So you can very easily sell a property that is well underpriced, well under market value. And some homeowners will do that if they are certainly desperate enough. But for the most part, I think that most sellers will want to get top dollar for their property, what is likely their largest financial investment. So what I'm saying here is that your property can sell without it being professionally staged. However, it might take you longer, and it might not be able to get you or your client, your selling client, the price that they are after, right? We've seen time and time again properties that were not professionally prepared and staged can sit on the market for months and months at a time. But if the seller is not in a hurry to sell and they're just testing out the market, then they don't care if it's going to sit on the market for a while because they're not serious. And if that's the client that you are working with, then that might not bode well for you either, because if they're not a serious seller, then you're going to be wasting a lot of time and effort, and at the end of the contract they might just change their mind altogether, and you would have wasted a lot of time and money in marketing that property. So the other thing that I wanted to sort of touch on here is that what I am told through my staging partners, and having been in the industry for a while now, I know that, and being home sellers myself with my husband quite a few times now, I know this. If a property sits on the market for a little bit, meaning like 2 weeks, and there hasn't been any solid activity or expressed interest with an offer, you are going to be going back to your selling client and start to have that really ugly and uncomfortable discussion about a price reduction, a price adjustment. And I'm told that typically it's about 2% for every 2 weeks that the property is sort of still on the market, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But let's just stick with 2% as an example, because I have to, give you some numbers here. So let's just say that the property is listed at $500,000. And a 2% price reduction means that it's $10,000. $10,000 off of the initial listing price. And then if it doesn't sell within another 2 to 3 weeks, then you're probably going to go back to your selling client and ask or recommend another 2% in price reduction. And that brings it to about $9,800. So in total, after 2 price reductions, and that's conservative. I would say that that's conservative. These days I'm seeing price reductions anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. But in this example, after 2 price reductions of 2% each time, it comes to almost $20,000, about $19,800 after the property has been on the market for about 4 weeks. That's not chump change, right? That's quite a bit of money. That's quite a lot of money. That's not going to be hitting your client's pocket. And one of the reports that I recently read, it is, mind you, I do have to put in a caveat that the report is from the US, only because we don't really have any great statistics in Canada as of yet. But I'm hoping that that's to come soon now that we are able to publish sale price and listing information. So, having said that, this report coming from the US states that staging can help reduce a property's listing time on the market by up to 30 to 50%, and could deliver a price that is 6 to 20% more than a vacant home or a home that is not properly staged. So these are tracked and measured statistics. Mind you, yes, it is from the US, but many things are very similar in the US and in Canada. And I'm going to admit this, I used to work for a research company in Canada, one of the world's largest research companies in Canada for consumer goods. And most often when we are looking at demographic informations and things like that and statistics, we often refer to the US as well. And then we take that number and say that Canada is about 10% of that. So it isn't just in the real estate industry that we rely on statistics from the US to measure against our own Canadian market. So this is very relevant, even though the statistics is from Canada, from the US. So based on that stat, staging a vacant property, they're also saying that staging a vacant property between 2,000 to 2,500 square feet can run anywhere between $29.50 to $52.50. So it's a pretty broad range, but that's because it depends on how many rooms are staged within that vacant property and how much furniture is required in each of the rooms, right? So, and every space is really custom, so you can't really be too specific, but the range makes sense, even though it does seem wide. And staging an occupied property in the same study says that it can cost anywhere between $1,400 to $2,700. So it is less than a vacant property because typically there might not be any furniture rental involved, or one or two very small pieces. That's it. But when it comes to an occupied property, we try to use as much of the client's own furnishing as much as possible to keep costs down. So when you think about this, right? So at the lower level, it's $1,400, and at the high level, it's about $5,250 for a vacant house. When you think about it, it's not a huge investment, particularly if there's a positive ROI, and research and study has shown that there is definitely a positive ROI. Now, the alternative is doing nothing and keep reducing the price of the property until it sells, right? Because like I said, it will sell eventually at the right price. However, using the price reduction example above and then having your home staged can mean that you can save approximately $14,000 to $18,000 in this scenario, right? You just take the price reduction of almost $20,000 less, let's say the top end of the staging cost is $5,250 minus 2, and you get to like $1,450. So when they invest in staging, they're actually going to be putting more into their pocket than to just simply keep reducing the price until it sells. So in this example, what I'm trying to show you here is that both the seller and the realtor can really end up with more money in the pocket. How do you end up with more money in your pocket as the agent? Well, obviously, when you sell the property for more, then your commission is going to be higher, right? But when you sell for less, your commission is going to be lower, and yet your expenses is going to be about the same. And so let's just a little bit of a history here. Home staging has been around for a long time. Well, maybe not a long time. I guess about more than 20 years, So from an industry perspective, it's still relatively new, but it really took off and became popular and entered the mainstream as a real estate marketing strategy in the late 2000s, when real estate became a buyer's market. And the reason why the staging as a marketing strategy works really well is because today people lead really busy lives. Like, they don't want to walk into a home and then make a list of things that they need to fix and renovate. They would much prefer and are therefore willing to pay extra for a move-in ready home. And if you've been living in your if the client has been living in their home for a while and have some outdated furniture and decor, buyers will not be able to see themselves or their belongings there, especially if the space is cluttered and filled with dated and overstuffed furniture, right? And let's face it, in the GTA and in other parts of Canada as well, one of the things that we are dealing with is housing affordability. That has been a major issue and has been one of the forefront issues in the most recent provincial election. So, for first-time home buyers, and housing affordability is an issue, they put all of their savings into the down payment and probably got help from mom and dad and other relatives to help with the initial down payment, are barely scraping by to manage their mortgage and other household and personal expenses. Do you really think that they're going to be able to afford fixing up a property when they move in? Will they be able to budget for that? Or would they actually prefer a move-in ready space? Right? So if you are working with a professional stager or have somebody on your team, their job is to provide your clients with an unbiased viewpoint into what it would take to sell the home and to sell it fast. They can really help your clients, and obviously the potential buyer to visualize themselves living there and seeing themselves living there, because that's what we want. We want the emotional connection to the property so that they want to be able to live in there and then obviously put in the offer. So, I guess I was a little bit long-winded about it, but in short, yes, you can sell a property that is not staged, but then again, at what cost? My recommendation is that if you don't want to use a professional stager, or if your client is opposed to spending that expense, at minimum, you need to make sure that they declutter every living space, including the garage, by, generally 30 to 50%, because clutter can really impact how potential buyers sees the property and the space. And so make sure that they remove oversized furniture, create a warm and inviting space for the buyer when they come in to visit. So warm doesn't mean dark and dingy and gloomy either, okay? And make sure that, the best features of the home are being shown and highlighted for the buyer, because when it comes to selling a property, Just like any other product out there, it really is all about the buyer. And so that is kind of where I am going to end this. I hope that I've been able to convince you that professional staging as a marketing strategy is well worth the time and the effort to talk to with your clients and explain to. And excuse me, what I've learned over time is that what really helps your client to understand the value of staging is by showing them the numbers. Work it out on a piece of paper, scrap piece of paper, come in, have it prepared, and show them what it means, because people might not understand a lot of things, but people understand numbers. So when you're prepared to go in with some numbers to show them, I'm sure that they are going to be all in, and you will both benefit. All right, so that is it for this latest episode of All About Real Estate Marketing. I really appreciate you being here, and please don't forget to comment, share, and like. I'd love some of your feedback as well, and I hope you join me again next time. Thank you for listening to this latest episode of the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast. If you like this episode and the All About Real Estate Marketing podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and of course share. If you have a tactic that works well and would like to be a guest on our show, reach out to me via email. My email is in the description. If you would like to learn more about real estate marketing and staging, visit my website, also in the description, to find out when the next Staging to Sell What Every Agent Should Know class is scheduled for. Marketing doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, it's quite simple, so long as you make it all about the buyers. So until next time, take care.